Welcome to this third Sunday in Advent. Today I'd like to reflect on the joy that Christmas is all about and joy that the prophet Isaiah spoke of. Here we are in the middle of Advent, and I'm finally feeling it. The joy of this holiday season. Perhaps some of you are feeling that way as well. For the first few weeks, that feeling just wasn't coming. We put up our tree right after Thanksgiving. I thought it would be a nice backdrop for these messages during Advent. We strung lights along the fireplace mantles and set up the rest of the house with a different Christmas decor. But honestly, it just felt like I was going through the motions. It was just okay. And yeah, it was Christmas and kind of getting ready for it, but getting ready for what? The warm feelings that usually are centered around this holiday time just were really not coming. They seemed flat. And then I realized that there were two events that occurred that really changed that for me. The first one was an unplanned visit by Aaron and Elliot, who offered to help me string the lights on the tree and decorate it with ornaments, which we did. And it was such fun. On a couple of the branches, there are a cluster of ornaments. A toddler thought they were a perfect way to display them, all clustered on a couple different branches. And let me tell you, I'm not moving them. And even though some of them are just about to touch the floor, it doesn't matter. Because every time I look at them, I think about the joy in that moment of sharing with them. The other thing was that we had Sharon and Preston up a few nights ago and shared with them in dinner. Now, it's not the first time. We've actually do it pretty regularly, sharing dinner back and forth together at each other's houses. But there was something just special in this moment. Perhaps it has to do with the reality that this Christmas, our circle of those that we can gather with is smaller than usual. And it caused me to consider how much I treasure these moments. We may not all be able to be together with all of our family as we want it to be this year, but just being together with some just sort of united us in some way and allowed me to consider the rich and meaningful relationships that make up my life. In some way, we will be together with others in our family, even if it is virtually, and love will transcend the distance in miles. It always does. It's important for us to remember, and I believe more profoundly this year, that Christmas, the Christmas story of Jesus' birth, arose out of hardship, arose out of oppressive times, arose out of dark times. Things were not perfect. Joseph and Mary endured a difficult journey to Bethlehem at the very inconvenient time of her pregnancy in order to abide by the law. It's not really like they had any option. They couldn't wait for the birth to come and then travel to Bethlehem. They had to go in that moment. And of course, we know that when they arrived there, and as she got closer to giving birth, the innkeeper turned them away, and they took shelter in a stable among the animals. It was there that Jesus was born into the world. As the story passed down through the ages, the stable and the manger became sort of cleaned up and glorified, but it probably wasn't the sweet smell of fresh hay or gleaming of tidiness. It likely smelled of animal waste. And the prickliness of the hay and the straw made it really uncomfortable, hard to find a place where you could rest easily. That was not a place where one would consider giving birth. But when we have no options, we make the best and do the best we can. And so in a bleak, unpromising place, that is exactly what happened. And joy was born. Likewise, centuries earlier, the prophet Isaiah spoke of great joy and promise to come to the people. This, too, came out of a dark place for the people of Israel and what they were enduring of oppression and hardship. The world would, in Isaiah's words, would be restored to wholeness. Oppression would come to an end, and they would be filled with great joy. All brokenness would be healed, and peace would come. We have an obnoxious battery-operated singing fish in our house. I don't know, Ted tucked it away somewhere, but it seems to emerge once in a while when the grandchildren are here. I think we ended up getting this from some Yankee swap a few years ago. Besides singing "Take Me to the River," the fish sings "Don't Worry, Be Happy," to the delight of our grandchildren, who every single one of them just giggles and laughs and says, "Do it again, do it again." It gets pretty tedious. And it is so much fun, though, to watch them laugh and be caught up in the happiness of the moment. Today I think about happiness and joy. Happiness to me is a result of what is happening around us. Happiness, happy moments with family and friends. Happy times of laughter and play. Happiness because at the moment all things are going really well. And we just feel happy, right? And we're not worried. But joy is what we feel, even when things aren't going as we had hoped. Joy is what we know, even among the hardships of life. Joy is what wells up in us from within, trusting in the promise of better days. Joy is believing that our current circumstances are not the final word on life. Joy is knowing peace and contentment will sustain us whenever and wherever. Joy is what the Hebrew people believed at hearing the promise of great and positive change in the proclamation that the prophet Isaiah spoke of. Joy is what Mary and Joseph knew as they looked into the eyes of their newborn child. His perfect fingers and toes, his delicate lips and nose, his eyelashes, his small ears, every aspect of this new life that rested in their arms. Joy in the midst of an unkept animal stall. Joy in spite of the challenges they faced. Joy among the worries and the fears. This Advent season is unlike any we have experienced before. The virus numbers are increasing in our county, and with it our fears and worries. Economic challenges are cutting deep. The stability of our democracy, what we have counted on for our freedoms, is of great concern. We carry into this season all of the personal issues of health, concern over loved ones, financial worries, decisions we need to make. The list goes on. It is what we face throughout our year, and perhaps even more so this year. But in this season, we are invited to realize that even in the midst of all that we are dealing with on every level, there is joy, an inner contentment that sustains us with an overwhelming peace. In this moment in our history, this moment has opened my eyes And not only them, but as the Apostle Paul once said, the eyes of the heart, to feel and to know and value the relationships that I so treasure. To experience living in new ways that are deeply spiritual and life-giving and healing. To know within a joy that is not shattered by the world and what's going on, but is unbreakable in resilience and hope. The truth is, the Advent journey is an ongoing adventure through life that we travel every day of the year, even though we celebrate it annually. It is our life journey in which we are invited, as we yearn for greater fulfillment, to always find ourselves reaching within for the promises that this season speaks of. Peace, hope, joy, love. Even and most profoundly, when the world around us seems dark and worrisome, our faith welcomes us to receive and to know joy beyond measure, joy beyond words. Blessings and amen.